Hi, welcome to the Grand Plans podcast. My name is Susanna Barton, and I'm the host of the Grand Plans podcast. And today we're jumping into season 4, episode 2 with Brian Levy. He is the Chief Relationship Officer of Manchester Homes and Cambridge Caregivers, which is based in Dallas, Texas. Brian and I grew up together in San Antonio, Texas, and I am thrilled to have him on the show today to talk about using caregiving services over independent caregivers and some of the residential complexes he's developing in Dallas. And so welcome to the show, and I look forward to y'all meeting Brian here in a minute. Hi, my name is Susanna Barton, and I'm so excited to be here today on episode 2 of season 4 of the Grand Plans podcast. And today, I feel so fortunate to have a childhood friend on the show, Brian Levy. He is the Chief Relationship Officer of Manchester Homes and Cambridge Caregivers, based in Dallas, Texas. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about his journey into the aging services field, and also look at independent caregivers versus professional caregiving services, which is what Cambridge Caregivers offers its clients, and then look a little into what Manchester Homes is doing with their very, very cool options for senior living. So with that, Brian, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's great to see you. Yes, this relationship started in 2nd grade, so it's been a minute.
Yes, it's been a long time since we rode the bus together. And now look where we are here in Aging Services USA. So, in all the time I've known you, I don't know if I know your origin story into coming into this field of gerontology and aging services. What brought you here?
Yeah. Pretty random story. My grandmother lived in our care homes for 4 years. So I had no elder care experience whatsoever other than loving my grandparents and loving the elder community. Mm-hmm. And I visited my grandmother every Sunday morning with my kids. I mean, that was our routine. And I was at a Boy Scout camp out one night, and the owner of Manchester Care Homes approached me and said, "I think I know you." And I looked at him and I said, No, you don't. And we went back and forth and realized our kids were friends, and he had seen me at some of the Boy Scout events, and we became friendlier. And then we commiserated about my grandmother, and we actually went into business together. At the time, I was doing multifamily renovations, and he backed me, and we started a company, and we were growing that company as he was growing the Manchester Care Homes company. There was a spinoff division called Cambridge Caregivers, and he dragged me over to run that division. Awesome. And I haven't looked back. I have no experience whatsoever. And it was baptism by fire. Yeah. I just learned. And I love learning. I love every aspect of this business. Yeah.
Oh, the people that you get to interact with are so wonderful, and it's I just think it's a beautiful field to be in, and so broad and has so many aspects to it. One of the big things that everyone who's a caregiver, and that 1 in 4 of us are caregivers, so it's a lot of people. But what you learn is that at some point you're going to need some kind of long-term care. I think the number is 70% of us will need long-term care. And then you start thinking, well, who's going to be caring for me? How is that going to work? How much is it going to cost? Where do I find the right people? So I think a lot of folks have the idea that, I'll just find someone, who I know who can come into my home every day, 24/7, and be there for me. I think that does happen for some people, but I think it can be kind of a unicorn situation. Tell me a little bit about that and why it may be the better choice to look at a professional caregiving services firm like Cambridge Caregivers.
Great. I'm glad you asked. And it's a hot button for me because not just from a business standpoint, but from a safety and security standpoint. Right. And, the pilot's the pilot, the chef's the chef, the daughter's the daughter, and the caregiver's the caregiver. And they don't veer out of their lanes. And when you have your housekeeper's daughter's boyfriend's cousin as your caregiver, what skills do they have? Are they trained? Are they background checked? Are they insured? If they slip and fall in your house, who's paying workers' comp? And then is there redundancy? If they get a flat tire, who's coming? So there's all sorts of reasons why not to use a private caregiver. I'll tell you one quick story. I had a client, not uncommon for a client on the Cambridge side, to bring us their favorite caregiver. We hire them, we pay the taxes, we do the scheduling, we do all of that. We send them to the family. This family was referred a private caregiver by a concierge doctor. And when we went to bring her on staff to assign them to our client, her background check was 4.5 pages long that included exploitation, theft, and not one but 2 DUIs.
Wow.
So buyer beware. You just never know. And cheaper isn't always better. But I think between the background check, the insurance, the taxes, and the training, you can pay a little bit more and get an expert.
Yeah. No, I in a caregiving situation that I was involved in, there was a housekeeper who had kind of moved up to be the primary caregiver for this couple.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where she couldn't do it anymore physically because the mobility needs had changed and that kind of thing. And then there was no one else to fall back on. So, and there were a number of calls I would get in the middle of the night. Oh, the caregiver's not here yet. And so, when there's no one else, when it's just one person you're depending on, that can get complicated in my experience.
Sure. And it's really important I can't stress enough the training. We do 42 paid training sessions throughout the year. And the feedback that we get from our staff is they feel so confident when they walk into an engagement that they can handle almost anything. And having a trained, skilled caregiver, look, we're dealing with a very sensitive population, and anyone experiencing brain change has to be communicated with by someone who has the skills and understanding to redirect. Skills like that don't come naturally. You need to learn them. And those are just really important aspects of caring for our elder community.
Absolutely. Yes. And Cambridge Caregivers, how many people do y'all have on staff? What's your market like there?
Market like here, so we're based in Dallas, and then we expanded to Fort Worth, Houston, and Austin. We have over 350 caregivers, CNAs, LVNs, and RNs on staff. Wow. They're W-2 employees. We pay their health benefits, life insurance, 401k, PTO, gas stipend, and no interest loans. So our retention rate is over 90%. Wow. I mean, I've got caregivers that have been on staff with us 12 and 13 years.
So they're being treated right, which then affects the quality of care that they're providing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I tell my clients, our caregivers are not sitting on their phone in the kitchen looking for a job. They love their jobs. And it makes a big difference. It really does, just in terms of care.
That's incredible. And earlier you mentioned some of the things that the older adult population faces, and fraud being one of them, inconsistency of care, that kind of thing. In your experience, what have you stepped into before? What have you seen where Cambridge Caregivers has been able to really change the game for the client?
Sure. No, look, exploitation it can be in your face or it could be very subtle. And with technology today, we have some clients that are on service just for companionship. And so that in and of itself eliminates our caregivers' ability to just hover and watch every move. They may just be in the house.
Right.
We had a client years ago who got scammed on the computer with ransom. And she was slowly sending $100, $500, $1,000. They locked up her computer and said, we're going to come to the house to pick up a check.
Right.
To the house. And when they arrived at the house, that's when our caregiver intercepted and said, what's going on? And sure enough, These guys stole every last cent
Oh,
of her her checkings, her savings, her UBS account, all of her investments, everything. Now the daughter was sharp enough to get involved with FDIC and the bank and get some of the money back, but not all. I
hmm.
mean, typically once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
So, when our parents and our grandparents are messing around online, it's very hard to detect fraud from not fraud.
Yeah.
And
And
I mean, I know I've fallen prey to. Oh wait, that's not real. So we kind of know what to look like. But nowadays with AI, I mean, every day is a new day. It's scary.
are your caregivers trained to look for that kind of thing with your clients?
It's a good question. It's difficult to train for
Mm.
because it's so sneaky. It's part of our everyday
Yeah.
world. It used to be, hey, look at the URL and make sure that it has a padlock on it and it's a real URL. That coupled with teaching somebody with brain change something like technology, scams, they don't understand that as much as they don't understand instructions like don't stand up. You can't teach that.
Right.
So it is difficult, and that's where adult supervision comes in.
Yeah.
And you start taking away electronics or limiting electronics
Yeah.
or interfacing with strangers, things like that.
Yeah. Brian, before we get into talking a little bit about Manchester homes and that concept, um, if you could talk to older adults, maybe when they're a little younger, what advice would you give them to help plan for their future caregiving needs? Is, if you could jump back in time and give them some
Yeah,
advice, what would you suggest?
I like that. So the advice I would give, our older generation, our
Hmm.
parents, our grandparents, they didn't talk about money. They didn't talk about finances, who, when, where, what, things that they had planned for or not.
Hmm.
it, those conversations didn't exist. And so you and we don't know passwords. We don't know investments. We don't know the name of the lawyer. We don't know what their wishes are. And that's part of your program, which I love so much, is grand
Yeah.
plans. And really getting down to the bottom of it. And look, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, I know this is out of your comfort zone, but think about it from my standpoint. If something happened to you, what do I do first? Who do I call?
Hmm.
Where are the passwords? Where are the codes? Where are the finances that are going to help me help you? And I tell our older community, they taught us how to use a spoon. Now it's our opportunity to keep them healthy and safe.
Absolutely.
But we can't do that without all of that information.
Yeah. And do you think is there any wisdom in talking to a company like Cambridge Caregivers before you need the care, or is it always a game
Absolutely.
time decision?
No, we don't want it to be a game time decision. Unfortunately, rarely does somebody call me and say, next week my mom might fall, or next month dad's going to get diagnosed. Look, statistically, something's going to happen. And working in the complex maze of elder care in crisis mode is ill advised. You want to take your time. You want to learn. Learning elder care is a different language. It's like if I told you tomorrow you're going to sell commercial insurance, you don't know the first thing about commercial insurance. People that are raising kids and sharing finances and going about their lives with their healthy parents, all of a sudden there's a stake in the road. What do they do? Who do they call? Where do they start? And so I tell families all the time, plan now so you don't have to scramble later.
Right.
It's just basic advice, but it's hard to get in someone's. They're like, "Oh, my parents are fine. They're so independent. They drive to the coast all the time." Well, that's great until it's
Oh,
not.
right. Exactly. And you never know when it's not, when that's going to happen. All
Right.
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 Well, one of the other big components I think of aging successfully is thinking innovatively about how and where you live. And I was so amazed when I was in Dallas this past summer for our podcast interview to see the Manchester Homes products that you have in
Yeah.
the Dallas market. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about it almost seemed like it was an elevated care home situation, and very
It's
boutique
definitely
and
unique.
very just beautiful homes. So maybe to describe a little bit about that, because I think that is the answer for many people, to find a situation like that where there is more, it's a more of a home environment, more personalized care. And I know the price tag's probably not for everybody, but it seems like a fantastic model that could be scaled.
Yeah. So we're unique in our model in that there aren't other care homes that are custom purpose built in
Mm-hmm.
Dallas. Most care homes are older homes that have been renovated with Jack and Jill bathrooms and shared rooms. Our concept is completely different. So imagine a multi-million dollar, for your viewers, you've been there, but for your viewers, imagine a multi-million dollar mansion in a residential setting with 8 master bedrooms and 9 bathrooms. So every room is an ensuite. It's we've been dubbed the Ritz Carlton of elder care, and we're proud of it. I mean, we have incredible staff. It's 8-2, so it's 4-1 ratio. Eight residents and 2 caregivers. And the concept really is a care home. That's what it is, and it's like having assisted living in your own residential setting.
Right. Yeah, they're beautiful, and are in existing neighborhoods, so it very much feels like you're in a neighborhood or in a community, which feels good,
Exactly.
and
It's the
curb appeal and all of that.
opposite. Yeah, absolutely. It's the opposite of institutionalized care.
Mm-hmm.
It's not 20-1 ratio with hospital beeps and smell and all. I mean, it's a home.
Right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
is it scalable? Is that the kind of thing?
It is. It's not that it's not scalable, but when you look at the market and the trends, I tell people, you come to us or we go to you. And it really comes down to budget.
Mhm.
What is your budget? If I tell my clients, if you can afford to age in place, age in place. There's no reason to go anywhere because there's nothing that Cambridge caregivers can't do at your home that we can do in the care home. So
Right.
it's just about budget. Of course, it's a lot less expensive to be in a care home or a facility. But if you can stay home, stay home.
Yeah, that's an important piece of the conversation. That the financial piece. What can I
Yeah.
afford to do? And then working within those parameters. But I just think that's Manchester Homes is such a smart use of funds. If depending on what your fund availability is, it's that really works well.
I'll tell you, in the Dallas market, we're very competitive with both Cambridge and Manchester because I'm friends with all my competitors. So I know that we're not outrageously expensive on either side. I'll give your listeners an example. In Dallas, the base rate for in-home care is $34 an hour. So our care homes are $9,700 a month, and that's pretty in line with most care homes. I mean, there are care homes that are 4,000, but those are shared rooms with Jack and Jill bathrooms or shared bathrooms.
Right.
There are, an assisted living goes up to, 8, 10, 12, 15, $20,000. It just depends on who, when, where, what, and the amenities. But at the end of the day, and I caution people, when you're looking at moving your folks to an assisted living facility, look at people come to me and they're like, hey, my dad's a veteran. Do you have a veteran he can talk to? And I caution families, don't look at the resident base. It's a variable, whether it's a care home or a large facility. Look at what's static, the ownership, the management, the clinicals, the nurse, the food, and at the end of the day, the staff. What are the staff like? How long have they been there? What's their tenure? What's their background? What's their training? Do they love their job? Are they smiling? Or are they on their phone in the break room going, I got to get out of here?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at moving your folks, look at everything, but go talk to the people that are caring for your folks, the ones that with their hands on your loved ones, and then you'll know what's right and what's not.
Yes, right. And it sounds like in terms of your staffing, a lot of that happy employee and dedicated employee, what the optics on that look pretty good because they're being taken care of, and so that's kind of a circular thing.
It makes such a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see our caregivers getting to know our residents and their families, and then they become a unit, that's the way it should be.
Yeah, it's a tough thing though, Brian. I think generally speaking, the caregiver market in whatever place you live is pretty fluid. I mean, it's a lot of coming and going, and people not being paid well, people not enjoying their jobs, as you say,
Yeah.
and thus not providing the best care. So is there an answer? It just seems like most people face that challenge of not being satisfied with the level of care their loved ones are getting in, whether it's a group home or a assisted living facility or memory care, that kind of thing.
It's about the staff and it's about how they're treated. They are our biggest asset. And if they're not trained well and paid well, they're going to jump for 50 cents.
Mm-hmm.
And when, look, our CEO's motto is we're in business to create jobs and serve communities. And the create jobs side of that is our staff are probably 80% of our staff are foreign-born immigrants. And they're here to work. And this is their calling. I mean, when you talk to our caregivers, this is gratification in this industry for them. And that's why we treat them the way we do, is they are our family. And when they have to go back to Africa or wherever their country of origin is for a funeral, we just write them a no-interest loan. If they get a flat tire or a broken refrigerator, rather than taking a day off of work, we'll Uber them to their job and help them get whatever's broken fixed so they can continue to work and supply and care for their families like they're caring for our clients. So we have an agreement. We have a deal with our staff. We're all in it together.
Yeah. Well, I'll end on this question. The market itself, the older adult population is just growing by leaps and bounds, and it's not stopping. It's getting huge. How does a caregiving company and a care home company like Manchester and Cambridge, how do you prepare for that? How do you get ahead of the wave? Because it's here.
Yeah. It is here.
Yeah.
Our recruiting engine is internal, and it's firing on all cylinders. Mm-hmm. And our staff are great recruiters because birds of a feather flock together. So our staff, we incentivize them to bring caregivers to our company to work for us. And they brag about us, and so their friends and their family. I've got a caregiver who has, I think, 6 family members working for us. That makes me proud.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to meet all of the new recruits and welcome them to our family. Like you said, it's just growing, and the need is getting greater.
Okay, I lied, Brian. I have one more question.
Hit me.
Okay, so what are you doing now to plan for your own caregiving needs in the future, and thinking about where and how you'll live as an older adult? I mean, I guess we're older adults now, almost. We're hitting it.
Oh, we are. We need to start planning.
Yeah.
For one, my dear friend gave me a book called Grain Plans. It's wonderful, and my wife and I, we're filling out all the blanks. And look, it's not one of those scenarios where the shoemaker's children go barefoot. Yeah. We have a responsibility too, mm-hmm. right? For the things that I tell my clients I want to do for my kids, so they aren't guessing, they aren't wondering, and we're all communicating and sharing with each other, whether it's funeral plans. Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? What's the password to the bank account? All of that information is just super important. So practice what you preach, I guess.
Absolutely. And I hope your boys are ready to listen to you.
That's tough. My boys are 23 and they don't want to hear about, they think it's morbid. Yeah. And I try to explain to them, this is just planning. But I have the documentation in place. So when they are ready for the conversation, we're not starting from scratch.
Right. Very smart.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, you've come a long way since the school bus. You're pretty smart.
No doubt, right?
Yes.
We all have to grow up at some point.
Yes, yes.
I'm getting.
Well, Brian, I cannot thank you enough. Thanks for being with us today on the Grand Plans podcast. And I look forward to continuing this important conversation about where we live, how we live, and who's going to be taking care of us. So thanks for the work that you do with your company. It's fantastic.
And thank you.
All right. Hi, thanks for being with us today for season 4, episode 2 of the Grand Plans podcast. I loved everything Brian had to say. He's a real professional when it comes to caregiving, professional caregiving, and the development of care homes, which they've done at a very high level there. If you want more information about Manchester Homes or Cambridge Caregivers, you just need to Google them or I think it's manchesterliving.com or cambridgecaregivers.com. So look them up, see what they're doing, and thank you for being with us today.